and of a boy named Tai Zhu, whose destiny was about to shift like the wind over the rice fields. Picture a small, dusty road in a quiet village. There sits a boy, gazing up at the blue sky, lost in a daze. His name is Wang Lin, but everyone calls him Tai Zhu, meaning iron pillar. It was a name given to him because he was sickly as a child, a superstitious hope that a strong name would keep him alive. Tai Zhu was different. While other children toiled in the mud and fields, Tai Zhu held books in his hands. He was the pride of his parents, a prodigy in their eyes. You see, his father was a carpenter. Skilled, yes, but born of a concubine and cast out of the wealthy Main Wang family. Because of this, his father pinned all his broken dreams on Tai Zhu. He wanted the boy to pass the district exams, to become a scholar, to rise above the village life that trapped his father. But fate, my friends, has a strange way of knocking on one's door. It arrived in the form of a horse-drawn carriage. Tai Zhu's fourth uncle, a successful man who supported the family's carving business, came thundering into the village. But this time he brought more than just business, he brought a miracle. The Heng Yue sect, the uncle whispered, the immortals. Imagine the shock. The Heng Yue sect was a legend, a place where people could fly through the skies and live forever. The Wang family had been granted 3 recommendation spots. The uncle gave one to his own son, a boy good with swords but poor with books. But he had 1 spot left, and he gave it to the bookish, intelligent Tai Zhu. In that moment, the world changed. Tai Zhu's father, usually hunched with worry, suddenly looked younger. His wrinkles faded. He wept with gratitude, threatening to disown Tai Zhu if he ever forgot his uncle's kindness. Tai Zhu, though confused about what an immortal actually was, vowed to seize this chance to see the outside world. News in a village travels faster than a wildfire. Suddenly, the neighbors who ignored them were at their doorstep with gifts. The relatives who had scorned Tai Zhu's father for years arrived with smiles plastered on their faces. A great feast was held in the village square. Tai Zhu was paraded around like a prize pony, but amidst the cheers there was poison. Enter Wang Zhu, a cousin from the Main family. He was handsome, arrogant, and already selected by an immortal teacher. He looked at our Tai Zhu with eyes full of disdain. "Little fool," Wang Zhu whispered when no one was looking. "You won't be selected. You're not good enough." The words stung, but they lit a fire in Tai Zhu's heart. The day of departure arrived too quickly. The morning mist still clung to the ground as fourth uncle's carriage returned. Tai Zhu's mother, eyes red with tears, handed him a parcel of new clothes and his favorite baked sweet potatoes. It was a mother's love packed into a bundle. As Tai Zhu climbed onto the carriage, leaving the only home he had ever known, he carried a heavy burden. He wasn't just going to learn magic. He was going to validate his father's life, repay his uncle, and prove the arrogant Wang Zhu wrong. The carriage rolled away, leaving his parents standing in the dust, watching their only son disappear into a future that was as uncertain as it was magnificent. And thus, the journey of the renegade immortal began. And so, the journey began. As the carriage rumbled over the uneven road, Wang Lin's body bounced, clutching the package that held his parents' desperate hopes. He was leaving the only world he had ever known. Night fell and exhaustion took him. When he awoke, he was in a strange city in the grand courtyard of the Main Wang family. The air was thick with tension. His eldest uncle, a harsh man, warned him, "Follow Wang Zhu, do not embarrass us." Wang Lin stayed silent. Beside him stood Wang Zhu, arrogant as ever, and another boy named Wang Hao, dark-skinned, sturdy, and clutching a mysterious bulge in his shirt. "So you're Tai Zhu?" Wang Hao grinned. "I'm Wang Hao." Suddenly the sky split open. A sword of light descended like lightning, shattering the clouds. From the brilliance stepped a youth in white robes. His eyes were cold, piercing, radiating an energy that made the air shiver. "Are these the 3?" the immortal asked, his voice like ice. Wang Lin's heart pounded against his ribs. An immortal, a real immortal. Wang Zhu stepped forward, chin high. "I am Wang Zhu." The immortal's cold gaze softened. "Ah, Wang Zhu, my martial uncle has spoken of your talent." Wang Zhu smirked at Wang Lin. Naturally, to be an immortal requires a strong spirit. Without another word, the immortal waved his sleeve. A rainbow light enveloped them, and in a heartbeat they were swept into the sky. The wind roared, stinging their eyes, turning the village below into mere specks of dust. They were flying. When they finally landed, Wang Lin gasped. Before him lay a paradise. Towering mountains pierced the clouds, their peaks hidden in mist. Strange beasts cried out in the distance. A silver bridge, curved like a crescent moon, connected the peaks in the sky. This was the Hengyue sect. Once a titan of the cultivation world, now a shadow of its former glory, but to a mortal boy like Wang Lin, it was heaven itself. A middle-aged man in black robes floated down from the peak, landing as softly as a feather. "Brother Zhang," he said to the youth, "go cultivate, I will handle the test." As the youth vanished up the mountain, Wang Lin stood trembling with excitement. Suddenly he felt a tug on his sleeve. It was Wang Hao, his eyes burning with a fierce, desperate fire. "This is where immortals live," Wang Hao whispered, clutching the secret object in his shirt. "Damn it. No matter what, Wang Hao must be selected." But Wang Lin looked up at the looming mountain, at the mist that hid his future, and knew one thing for certain. The real test was just beginning. Even Wang Zhuo, usually so full of himself, stood dazed. The arrogance in his heart shrank before the sheer scale of the Hengyue sect. Suddenly, streaks of rainbow light shot through the sky. One by one, flying swords landed, each carrying a disciple and a group of hopeful 15-year-olds. Soon, 48 children stood gathered, staring wide-eyed at their competition. A man in black robes stepped forward. His voice was emotionless, cutting through the awe like a cold wind. "Among the lot of you, only a few will be selected." 48 hearts shuddered at once. Wang Lin counted them silently, only a few. "Cultivation depends on natural talent," the man said. "The first test is spirit. Whoever I point to, step forward." He pointed to a boy. The boy walked up, legs shaking. The man placed a hand on his head. "Not qualified, stand to the left." The boy collapsed, his face bleak, and dragged himself to the left. Another stepped up, "Not qualified." Another, "Not qualified." 10 children failed in a row. The left side grew crowded with broken dreams. The right side remained empty. Then it was Wang Zhu's turn. His pride was gone now, replaced by pale fear. He stepped forward. The man touched his head, and his face lit up. "What is your name?" "Wang Zhu, immortal," he replied, voice trembling. "Good, you are the one my martial teacher mentioned. Stand to the right." Wang Zhu's chest swelled. As he walked to the right, the arrogance flooded back into his eyes. He looked down at the crowd as if they were ants. "Motherfucker, lucky dog," Wang Hao muttered beside Wang Lin. Wang Lin's fists tightened. He saw his parents' hopeful faces in his mind. Please. Soon, almost everyone had been tested. Only 2 stood on the right, Wang Zhuo and a young girl. Now it was Wang Hao's turn. Before the test even began, Wang Hao dropped to his knees and kowtowed. "Immortal, you must be tired from testing so many people. Please rest a moment. I am in no rush." The man laughed. Amidst all this fear, here was a clever one trying to flatter him. He touched Wang Hao's head. "Talent is lacking, not." Wang Hao's heart plummeted, but he was quick. He pulled a jade box from his shirt. "Immortal, my father found this on the mountain. I brought it specially for you." The man's eyes widened. A 300-year-old mushroom, sealed by a cultivator. He paused, a greedy glint in his eye. "I need a helper for my alchemy. Are you willing?" "Yes, I am willing." Wang Hao screamed, scrambling to the right side, shooting a triumphant glare at Wang Zhuo. Finally, the man pointed at Wang Lin. Wang Lin walked forward, his mind blank, his heart screaming a single prayer. "I must be selected." The man's hand touched his head. The verdict came instantly, cold and final. "Not qualified." Thunder roared in Wang Lin's ears. He didn't remember walking to the left. He only felt the crushing weight of failure. Wang Zhuo sneered at him from the winner's circle, a look of pure contempt. But the man spoke again. "Talent is not everything. Perseverance matters more. Even ordinary people can become disciples if their will is strong enough." He pointed to the winding stone steps leading up the mountain. "The second test is perseverance. Climb these steps. If you reach the top, you are qualified. You have 3 days. If you fail, you go home." With that, the man took the 3 chosen ones and vanished up the mountain. Wang Lin stood at the bottom of the stairs. He took a deep breath. His eyes, once filled with despair, now burned with a terrifying determination. He would not go home a failure. He would climb. Without a word, Wang Lin stepped onto the stone path, walking toward his future. The real test had begun. The stone steps were a death trap. narrow, uneven, and flanked by steep cliffs. One slip meant a fall into the abyss. Half a day passed. Wang Lin's legs felt like lead. Every breath was a struggle. From the bottom, the trail had looked short, but now it felt endless. Despair began to creep into his heart. Ahead of him, a dozen strong boys climbed slowly. Suddenly, a scream pierced the air. "I give up, help." A boy had slipped. He fell from the side of the mountain, flailing wildly. Just as death seemed certain, a dark light flashed. A Heng Yue sect disciple appeared from thin air, caught the boy, and gently floated him down to the bottom. Wang Lin watched in silence, his face pale. He turned back to the steps and kept climbing. 2 days passed. Wang Lin didn't know how many had given up. He only knew one thing: he could not stop. His feet were swollen and bleeding. Every step sent a jolt of pain through his body. When his legs failed, he used his hands, clawing his way up the stone. A middle-aged man with a sickly complexion floated down the stairs. He looked at the struggling youths and sighed. "Little children, keep your hearts strong. This path is ruthless, but nothing is in vain." He passed Wang Lin. This was the 6th youth he had seen, and by far the most pathetic. Wang Lin was soaked in blood, his knees and toes mangled, crawling on his hands. The man sighed. "My child, what is your name?" Wang Lin didn't answer. His vision was blurry. He didn't even hear the question. In his mind, there was only the path: climb or die. The man paused, moved by the boy's sheer will. He placed a hand on Wang Lin's bloody head. "This boy has amazing perseverance," the man whispered. "It's too bad he lacks talent. What a waste, what a waste." The sun rose on the 3rd day. In the distance, through the haze of exhaustion, Wang Lin could see the end of the steps. He was so close. Hope flared in his chest. But then a thunderous voice shook the mountain. "Time is up. Only 3 have qualified. The rest failed." Wang Lin froze. A bitter laugh escaped his lips. He was less than 50 meters from the top. His body gave out and darkness took him. When he woke, 3 days had passed. He stood before the House of the Sword Spirit with 10 other survivors. His physical wounds were healed, but the wound in his heart was gaping open. He had failed. This was the final chance. A man in white robes stood before them, his eyes cold and impatient. "This is the last test," the man said. "If you can walk into this room, you are qualified." Wang Lin looked. It was a common building, its door open, revealing rows of swords inside. One by one, the youths tried to approach, but at 5 meters away, an invisible force slammed into them, pushing them back. "Unqualified, next." Wang Lin was 7th. He watched 6 others fail. With a bitter smile, he stepped forward, clutching the last shred of hope he had left. 5 meters, he passed it easily. 4 meters, no pressure. The man in white's eyes lit up. "Hey, don't hesitate, keep walking. If the sword spirit accepts you, you will be a disciple." Wang Lin's heart pounded. The jealous glares of the other youths burned his back. He took another step. 3 meters remained. He saw his parents' faces in his mind, just a little more. He took another step. Bam! A massive, invisible force slammed into him. Wang Lin lost control and was flung backward, landing 10 meters away in the dirt. The other youths looked at him with mocking sneers. He was just like them after all. No talent, no destiny. As Wang Lin lay in the dust, the man in white's eyes turned cold again. Failed next. In the end, none of the 11 youths passed the test. On that day, the failures were sent back down the mountain. The same disciple who had picked Wang Lin up now took him home, accompanied by the 2 successful candidates, the arrogant Wang Zhu and the cunning Wang Hao. High in the sky, the disciple smiled at Wang Zhu. "Congratulations, brother Wang Zhu, you have a bright future." Wang Zhu lifted his chin proudly. "Naturally. Master said he will teach me cultivation techniques as soon as I return." Wang Hao snorted from the side. "I have always looked down on your arrogance, so what if you have a master? I will learn to make immortal pills." Wang Zhu glared at him, then turned his cruel gaze to Wang Lin, who stood silent and pale. "Taizhu, how was it?" Wang Zhu sneered. "I told you before that you didn't have the ability. You and your father wouldn't listen. Now you know the result." Wang Lin raised his head, his eyes tired. "Sir, my parents are waiting. Please take me home." Wang Zhu laughed. "Little bumpkin, you are better off becoming a carpenter in a little village for the rest of your life, just like your father." The flying sword sped up. For Wang Lin, this flight was torture. On the way there, his heart had been full of hope. Now it was filled with dead ash. Soon, the Wang clan house came into view. It was lit up like a festival. There were far more banquet tables than before, covering the entire yard. Every relative, even those from distant towns, had gathered. They were drinking, laughing, and waiting. In the center sat Wang Lin's father, surrounded by people who used to look down on him. Now their eyes were filled with envy and their mouths full of flattery. "Second brother," cried one uncle, "your son will be selected for sure. You won't have to be a carpenter anymore. We will have to call you elder." "Second sister-in-law," cried a female relative, "your Taiju is so handsome and smart. Why don't we arrange a marriage with my daughter?" Taiju's father drank his wine, sweeping away the sorrow of his past years. But deep down, a giant rock weighed on his heart. He kept praying, "Taiju, you must be selected." Suddenly, a sword of light descended into the courtyard. The noise died instantly. The entire family went silent. The Heng Yue sect disciple landed. He looked at the festive scene, then looked at Wang Lin with deep pity. He knew what this boy was about to face. "He has a ruthless path ahead of him," the disciple muttered, then vanished into the sky. The moment he left, the crowd surged forward. Wang Zhu's father rushed to his son. "Did the immortal take you?" Wang Zhu smiled, full of pride. "Naturally, in 10 years I will be the head of the disciples." His father roared with laughter, slapping Wang Zhu on the back. "Good, our Wang family has an immortal." Wang Hao's father looked anxiously at his son. Wang Hao sighed. "Dad, don't ask. Your son is already a disciple." Ecstatic, Wang Hao's father downed his drink in one gulp. Wang Zhu sneered from the side. He lost the family face. He only got in because he bribed the immortal with a gift. Wang Hao shot back. "I'm happy, so what? In the future we will see who is stronger." Amidst the cheering and the arguing, Taiju's father stood frozen. He saw the depressed, pale expression on his son's face. An ominous feeling clawed at his throat. His body began to shudder. Taiju's mother stepped forward, her eyes trembling with expectation. "Taiju, what about you?" Wang Zhu sneered, his voice dripping with malice. "He lost face for our family. I passed the first test, so I didn't see him until later. But I heard he failed all 3. He might as well not have gone. I would have preferred it if fourth uncle's son had gone instead." Fourth uncle frowned. "Wang Zhu, even if you become an immortal, what do you know about my son? The audacity." Wang Zhu's eyes flashed cold. He laughed quietly but said nothing more. Taiju's father collapsed into his chair, looking as if he had aged 10 years in a single moment. His mother gasped, her face draining of color. "Taiju, is this true?" she whispered. Taiju bit his lip until blood ran down his chin. He fell to his knees and kowtowed, his forehead hitting the dirt. "Mom, Dad, Taiju wasn't selected. I'm sorry. I will repay you in the next life." His mother saw the despair in his eyes. She rushed to pull him up, holding him tight. "Child, don't worry. So what if you weren't selected? Next year is the district exam. Don't be hard on yourself, and don't do anything stupid. Your father and I still need you." His father snapped out of his daze. He ran to his son, gripping his shoulders. "Taiju, listen to me. Let's go home. We will study. Do not give up." But the crowd had already turned. Like a pack of wolves sensing weakness, the relatives circled, their faces twisted with scorn. "I knew he had no talent," sneered the sixth uncle. "How could he compare to Wang Zhu?" Shameful, spat the third uncle, acting like he was already accepted. "No wonder Dad cut you out of the inheritance, second brother. You are stupid." The fifth uncle laughed. That story about him being smart, fabricated, a lie to cover up the fact that his father is a failure. A female relative scoffed. "Out of 3 children, only he failed. Taiju is the shame of the Wang family. Second sister-in-law, your luck has run out." Another woman chimed in. "Look at his parents. How could they produce anything good? Taiju. Bah, even the name sounds like an idiot." The insults came like a barrage of arrows. "I was blind to even consider him for my daughter," shouted a woman. "Why would I want my daughter to marry a failure? It's like a toad wanting swan meat." In moments, the relatives turned into snobs, demanding their gifts back, their flattery turning to poison. Taiju tightened his fists, wishing the ground would swallow him whole. He engraved every mocking face into his heart. Wang Zhu's father laughed inwardly. Didn't I tell you, second brother, to become an immortal requires fate? You made your son wish he was dead. Was there a need for this? Tai Zhu's father exploded. Wang Tianchen, shut your mouth. You stole my inheritance and now you insult me. I will fight you to the death. He grabbed a chair, ready to swing. Fourth uncle rushed forward to stop him. Brother, don't, he has servants. Listen to me. Fourth uncle turned to the crowd, his eyes blazing. Eldest brother, if you insult him again, do not blame me for burning this family down. I have friends in high places. Do not push me. The crowd quieted, fearing the well-connected fourth uncle. But the damage was done. The insults, the laughter, the scorn, they had pierced Tai Zhu's heart, leaving wounds that would never heal. The mockery continued. That's right, fifth brother chimed in. Fourth brother, you gave your spot to the wrong person. Your son is stronger than Tai Zhu. He might have actually been selected. Wang Zhu gloated, a proud smile plastered on his face. Their family brought this on themselves. I warned them. Stubborn as donkeys, and now they've hit a wall. Wang Hao tried to speak up. Tai Zhu, he. But his father shot him a fierce look, silencing him instantly. Fourth uncle sighed deeply. Enough. Whoever brings this up again is my enemy. Tai Zhu simply wasn't fortunate enough. Tai Zhu, don't take it to heart. Come to me. I can't get you into an immortal sect, but I can get you into a normal martial arts sect with my son, Hu Zai. Wang Zhu chuckled. I say go with fourth uncle. When you get there, tell them you were the trash rejected by the immortals. Maybe they'll take pity on you. Wang Lin slowly raised his head. He glared at the relatives, his eyes finally locking onto Wang Zhu. Mark my words, Wang Zhu. I, Wang Lin, will definitely enter an immortal school, and I will never forget how you insulted my family. Wang Zhu laughed, but fourth uncle exploded. You wordy little brat, I'm going to waste you right now. Let's see if the immortals want you then. Wang Zhu's father turned pale, jumping in front of his son. Fourth brother, you wouldn't dare. Fourth uncle's eyes were steel. Really, brother, I wouldn't dare. Tai Zhu's father pulled him back. Fourth brother, stop. You have a wife and kids. It isn't worth it. Just bring us home. Fourth uncle glared one last time, then led Tai Zhu and his family out. Even as they left, the sound of mocking laughter followed them into the night. The carriage ride home was silent. Tai Zhu, his father, finally said, This is nothing. When I was forced out of the house, I was more desperate than you. But I persevered. Go home, study for the exams, or go relax with your uncle. Just don't give up. His mother held him, tears streaming down her face. Tai Zhu, don't do anything stupid. You are my only son. If anything happens to you, I wouldn't want to live. Wang Lin nodded. Father, mother, rest assured, I have a plan. Back in his room, Wang Lin waited until his parents were asleep. He took a long look at them, his heart heavy but resolute. He wrote a letter, packed some dry food, and slipped out into the night. I will not give up. I must try to join the Heng Yue sect one more time, and if they refuse, I will find another sect. Under the moonlight, Wang Lin walked alone, his shadow stretching out before him. 3 days passed, then a week. He pushed through the wilderness, his legs cut by weeds, heading back toward the peaks he remembered. Finally, he saw it, the entrance to the Heng Yue sect. Exhausted, he sat down to eat. Suddenly, the hairs on his neck stood up. A heavy, wet breathing came from behind him. He turned slowly. A massive white tiger with blood-red eyes stood there, saliva dripping from its jaws. It roared and pounced. Wang Lin smiled bitterly. Without hesitation, he jumped off the cliff. The wind roared in his ears. Branches whipped his face. Father, mother, your son didn't listen. This is goodbye. He fell into the abyss. But suddenly, a strange force grabbed him. It pulled him sideways, dragging him out of the air and slamming him into a cave hidden in the cliff face. He hit the wall hard. When he finally woke, pain flooded his body. His clothes were torn, his body scraped, and his right arm was swollen and useless. But he was alive. He was in a cave, and he was not alone. Wang Lin was pale as he stood up. He was in a small, natural cave. Sunlight peered in, illuminating a floor littered with the bones of birds and animals. On the wall behind him was a black hole, no bigger than a fist. He stared at it, and suddenly the mystery was solved. The force that had saved him, that had sucked him out of the air, came from this hole. The scattered bones belonged to animals that had met the same fate. Suddenly, a wind howled behind him. Wang Lin threw himself into the corner just as an unimaginable suction force erupted from the hole. The bones on the floor rattled and flew backward, slamming against the wall, blocking the tiny opening. At that moment, a bird flew past the cave entrance. Whoosh! It was sucked in instantly, splattering against the wall. After an hour, the force stopped. Wang Lin stared in horror at the dead bird. He waited, he watched, he calculated. The suction started every 30 minutes and lasted for an hour. Using the safe window, Wang Lin crept to the entrance. He looked down and smiled bitterly. A steep cliff, a jungle far below. With a broken arm, climbing down was impossible. Jumping was suicide. His food was gone. His arm was numb and useless. Being stuck here means a slow death, he whispered, but jumping is instant death. Hunger clawed at his stomach. He looked at the bloody corpse of the bird. With a grimace, he picked it up and took a bite. The taste was appalling, raw, metallic, sickening. But he forced himself to swallow, bite after bite, fighting the urge to vomit. He tossed the remains aside and slumped against the wall. His mind drifted to his parents, to fourth uncle, to the mocking relatives, and finally to the cold eyes of the immortal. In a trance, he picked up the bird carcass again. Something inside caught his eye, a hard object. He pulled it out, a bead. It was gray, the size of a baby's fist. Why was there a bead inside a bird? He remembered a story from the village teacher about mythical beasts forming a dantian inside their bodies. Eat a dantian and you gain strength, heal wounds, prolong life. His heart pounded. Could this be it? Could this save him? He wiped it clean. 5 clouds were carved on its surface. It looked ancient. He bit it, hard as rock. He laughed at himself. Taiju, you are delusional. How could a random bird have a legendary dantian? Disappointed, he fell asleep, the mysterious bead lying next to him. Night fell, bringing a biting cold. The next morning, as the sun rose, sparkling drops of dew began to secrete from the bead, dripping onto the bones nearby. Wang Lin woke up. His arm was worse, swollen and throbbing. "Am I going to die here?" he muttered. Thirsty, he noticed the dew on the bones. He licked it off. It was sweet, and strangely, warm. A comforting heat spread through his body. The itching in his arm subsided. He looked down. The swelling had gone down. His eyes widened. He looked around and saw the dew on the gray bead. It was the source. Heart pounding, he picked up the bead and rolled the remaining dew over his injured arm. A cool, refreshing sensation washed over him. The swelling vanished. He waved his arm. Pain, yes, but it moved. Wang Lin stared at the gray object in his hand, his eyes shining with a new light. This stone bead is a treasure. For days, Wang Lin survived on the dead birds sucked into the cave. He used the magical dew to heal his arm completely, and even collected the precious drops in a small bird skull. Finally, he was ready. He wrapped the stone bead carefully in a piece of cloth. He tore his own clothes into strips, tying them together to make a rope. When the suction stopped, he tied one end to a rock and began to climb down. 5 meters down, his hand slipped. He fell, but the cloth held, swinging him toward the cliff. He grabbed a branch just before the rope snapped. Cold sweat dripped from his forehead. He was still 20 meters up. He tied the remaining cloth to the branch and descended further. 10 meters left. The cloth ran out. Without hesitation, Wang Lin jumped. He crashed through branches, slowing his fall, and rolled as he hit the ground. Pain exploded in his leg, a deep cut straight to the bone. Blurry-eyed, he shoved the cloth-soaked-in dew into his mouth, sucking desperately. Then, with trembling hands, he squeezed a few drops onto his leg. A cool relief washed over the wound. He lay there, praying no beasts would find him. "Taiju, where are you?" A shout from the distance. It was his father. "Dad, I'm here," Wang Lin screamed with his last breath. A rainbow light descended. A Heng Yue sect disciple landed, carrying Wang Lin's father. Taiju, his father burst into tears, hugging his battered son. "Why were you so stubborn? Did you think about us if you died?" Wang Lin realized the truth. They thought he had jumped off the cliff to commit suicide. He wanted to laugh, but only a bitter sound came out. The disciple named Zhang looked up at the cliff. He saw the torn clothes, the cave. He leaped up, felt the suction, and nodded. "Your kid tried to commit suicide but was saved by the cave," Zhang muttered. "Let's go back to the sect. The elders will decide what to do." Back at the sect, Wang Lin was reunited with his weeping mother. He learned that his parents had begged fourth uncle, who forced Wang Zhu's father to ask the sect for help. The sect only agreed because they feared bad rumors. If a rejected boy died on their mountain, no one would send their children to them in the future. While Wang Lin recovered, drinking immortal medicine that healed his body, the elders of the Heng Yue sect argued. Shameful, yelled a red-faced elder. Since when do immortals care about the life and death of a mortal? We look weak. Another elder sighed. We are weak. 500 years ago we wouldn't care, but now we need disciples. If this boy dies, parents will be scared to send us their children. Finally, an old man with deep wrinkles spoke up. If he tried suicide once, he might try again. To prevent more trouble, let us make an exception, accept him as a disciple. The argument among the elders continued. Is our Heng Yue sect really sinking so low? The red-faced elder Ma scoffed, making an exception for a mortal. Elder Li opened his eyes, his voice cold. The patriarch told me to handle this. If we kick him out and he tries to commit suicide again, the embarrassment will be worse. Are you willing to take responsibility if that happens? Elder Ma fell silent. A middle-aged elder stepped in to make peace. No need to argue, let him become a disciple. Wait 8 or 10 years. When he fails to cultivate, we send him back. Problem solved. But what if other youths follow his example? Asked the robed elder. Simple, the middle-aged man chuckled. We teach them that suicide is forbidden. As for this Wang Lin, since the matter is already this big, just take him. One extra disciple doesn't matter. The other elders nodded, unaware of the middle-aged man's secret thoughts. Oh, Wang Lin, he thought, I have helped you all I can. I have repaid your fourth uncle for that strange piece of metal. Little did they know, fourth uncle had bribed this elder with a rare metal he bought from a blacksmith, just to give Tai Zhu a fighting chance. A simple piece of metal had changed Wang Lin's fate. 2 days later, Wang Lin said goodbye to his parents. Seeing the joy on their faces, he vowed to cultivate seriously, but the reality of the sect was harsh. After his parents left, he was summoned by a shifty-looking youth. So you are Wang Lin? The youth laughed, his face full of contempt. The kid who got in by committing suicide. Wang Lin stayed silent. The youth sneered. Boy, starting tomorrow, your job is to fetch water. 10 vats a day. If you don't finish, no food. If you fail for 7 days, I kick you out. Here are your clothes. Remember, honorary disciples wear gray. You are not a true disciple yet. He tossed a gray uniform at Wang Lin. Where do I live? Wang Lin asked. Go north, the youth said, closing his eyes. As Wang Lin walked away, the youth muttered to rely on suicide to join. What a waste. Wang Lin walked through the sect. He saw many disciples in gray rushing about with pale, cold faces. They looked more like servants than immortals. He found his room. It was simple, 2 beds, a table, 2 chairs. He picked a bed and lay down, sighing. This wasn't what he expected. He thought he would learn magic, not fetch water. He touched the stone bead hidden in his chest. His secret treasure. He knew he had to hide it well. Night fell, the door creaked open, and an exhausted youth in gray stumbled in. He saw Wang Lin, collapsed onto his bed, and passed out instantly. Wang Lin ate a sweet potato his parents had left him. The smell woke the other boy. Can I have a piece? The boy asked, eyeing the food hungrily. Wang Lin handed him some. The boy devoured it. Damn it, I haven't eaten in 2 days. What's your name? Wang Lin. The boy laughed. So you are Wang Lin, the trash that got in by suicide. He stopped, realizing his mistake. Sorry, brother, my name is Zhang Hu. Everyone knows about you. Honestly, I admire you. You got in, that's what matters. Wang Lin smiled bitterly and handed him another piece. Zhang Hu took it. Better save some for yourself, Wang Lin. You are new. Who knows what evil tasks they will give you, damn it. They don't even treat us like humans here. Weasel, Wang Lin asked, confused. Zhang Hu drank some water. Yeah, the yellow-clothed disciple who laughed at you. He organizes our work. He's an honorary disciple too, but he gets to cultivate. We call him Weasel because, well, he looks like one. Wang Lin took a bite of his sweet potato. I saw him. He told me to fill 10 vats of water a day or no food. Zhang Hu froze. Brother, did you offend him? Why? Zhang Hu looked at him with pity. Wang Lin, you think those vats are normal-sized? He gestured with his hands, making a huge circle. The vats he is talking about are the size of this room. 10 vats, that's impossible. Wang Lin's heart sank. Zhang Hu pushed the sweet potato back. You keep this, you'll need it. You won't get food from the sect for days. I'll just eat wild fruits tomorrow. Rage surged through Wang Lin, but he swallowed it down. He thought of his parents. He had to endure. The next morning, Wang Lin arrived at the weasel's post just as the sun rose. The weasel opened the door, smirking. At least you are on time. Get a bucket, head east to the spring. He ignored Wang Lin after that, sitting cross-legged to meditate, breathing in the white mist of dawn. Wang Lin watched with envy, then went to see the vats. They were massive. Filling 10 of these would take a miracle. He grabbed a bucket and walked to the spring. By dusk, he hadn't even filled one vat. His arms were numb, his legs shaking. If not for the sweet potatoes, he would have collapsed. Desperate, Wang Lin carried half a bucket of water to a secluded spot. He looked around. No one was watching. He dropped the stone bead into the water, sloshed it around, then drank. Warmth exploded in his stomach. The pain in his muscles vanished instantly. Energy flooded his limbs. It wasn't as powerful as the pure dew, but it worked. Wang Lin touched his chest where the bead lay hidden. I will not let anyone know of this treasure, he vowed. That night, he drank more bead water and returned to his room, feigning exhaustion to avoid suspicion. A month flew by. Wang Lin learned that honorary disciples like him and Zhang, who were practically slaves, they had to do chores for 10 years before learning even basic magic. Inner disciples like Wang Zhuo did nothing but cultivate. Helpers like Wang Hao were servants to masters but got to learn small tricks. And talent, it was just spiritual energy. If you had it, you learned fast. If you didn't, you died of old age before learning a single spell. But Wang Lin had a secret weapon. Thanks to the bead water, his body was becoming incredibly strong. What used to take 6 days now took 3. To hide his strength, he woke up before sunrise and returned late, pretending to struggle while actually breezing through the work. The month was brutal. Honorary disciples, eager to vent their own frustrations, targeted Wang Lin. To them, he was lower than dirt, the boy who got in by attempting suicide. They mocked him, pushed him, and sneered at him. Wang Lin ignored them, pretending to be deaf and blind. He knew he was weak. If he fought back now, he would lose, but he memorized every face. Wait, he told himself, when I am strong, I will repay you all. He focused on the stone bead. He experimented constantly. He soaked it in spring water, sweat, blood, and dew. Dew was by far the best, especially morning dew. Spring water was second. Blood and sweat were useless. To hide his secret, he hollowed out small gourds and hid them in remote spots in the mountain. Whenever he was tired from carrying the massive vats, he would take a sip of the bead water and feel instantly refreshed. One evening, after filling his last vat, Wang Lin approached the weasel. "Brother Liu," he said, "I am going home tomorrow." The weasel snorted and closed his eyes. Wang Lin didn't care. He knew the rules. Honorary disciples could visit home 3 times a year. His father's birthday was coming up. He had to go. He went to find Elder Sun. The Heng Yue sect was huge, split into 5 elemental divisions. Wang Lin walked past the luxurious main courtyards where the true disciples lived, eyeing them with envy. He found the elder's garden. A youth in white blocked his path. "You are Wang Lin?" the youth asked, a smirk playing on his lips. Wang Lin nodded. He knew the hierarchy. Gray was lowest, then yellow, then red, white, black, and purple. This white-clad youth was far above him. The youth led him to a garden filled with the scent of medicine. "Teacher Sun," the youth called out lazily, "an honorary disciple is here." A hoarse voice scolded from inside. "Come in, state your name." "Disciple Wang Lin, here to see Elder Sun. My father's birthday is tomorrow. I wish to visit." The elder scoffed. "Wang Lin? HMPH, a person training to be an immortal caring about worldly affairs. You will never become an immortal." Wang Lin frowned. "Disciple hasn't even learned any techniques yet. How can I be on the path to an immortal?" The elder paused, then grunted impatiently. "You have 3 days. Return quickly. Here is a 1,000-mile talisman. It will increase your speed." A dull yellow paper floated out the window. Wang Lin picked it up. He knew about these, cheap talismans given to disciples to show off to their families. It was basically a recruitment tool, but it worked. Stick it on your leg and you run fast." He left the garden and headed down the mountain under the starlight. He wanted to save the talisman, but he couldn't miss his father's birthday. Back in the garden, elder son stepped out to pick herbs. He stopped, staring at the gate where Wang Lin had been standing. The blue spirit grass near the entrance had completely withered. Elder son frowned, squatting down to examine the withered grass. Not just the blue grass, but the purple flowers nearby were dying too. At noon, they had been healthy. How could they wither so completely in one afternoon? He touched the soil. It was moist. "Only one person visited me this afternoon," he muttered. "But an honorary disciple, how could he do this?" Suspicious, elder son flicked his sleeves and flew into the air, heading straight for the honorary disciple office. "Which disciple is in charge?" he thundered. The weasel, terrified by the sudden appearance of an elder, dropped to his knees and kowtowed furiously. "Do you have Wang Lin's registration?" The weasel's heart stopped. An elder asking about that trash? Had he made a mistake? Yes, he stammered, sweating bullets. "Brother Wang Lin loves to learn. He is serious. I have always looked up to him as a role model." Elder son ignored the pathetic display. "Which yard does he live in?" "Northern Earth Division." The elder vanished instantly. The weasel collapsed, his face green with fear. He swore to himself, "If I see Wang Lin again, I will treat him like my own grandfather." Elder son found Wang Lin's room empty. Zhang Hu was snoring loudly. The elder frowned. He left quickly. He whispered, "I will inspect him when he returns." Meanwhile, Wang Lin was flying across the mountain path. The 1,000-mile talisman was incredible. Warmth filled his body, and a dazzling white light gathered at his feet, making him look like a descending immortal. Creatures of the forest fled from his glowing path. By dawn, he reached the village. He saw his house from afar, decorated with red flags for his father's birthday. Wagons lined the street. A bustling crowd of relatives filled the yard. Wang Lin didn't slow down. He arrived in a flash of blinding white light, stopping right in front of the gate. The relatives gasped. They saw the glowing light, the speed, the aura. Their envy exploded. "Second brother, look, Wang Lin is back. He looks like a real immortal." "See," cried the third uncle, completely forgetting his past insults. "Even the immortals realized their mistake. Our Wang family depends on these 3 children now." Fifth uncle stepped forward, smiling shamelessly. "I was blind before. Wang Lin is clearly a dragon amongst men. Nephew, forgive your uncle's old eyes." Wang Lin snorted coldly inside. He remembered their cruel words, their demands for gifts back, but he said nothing. "Taizhu." His father rushed out, grabbing his arm, beaming with pride. "Why are you back? You should be studying." Wang Lin smiled. "Dad, don't worry, I have permission. I couldn't miss your birthday." His father laughed, parading him toward the door. "Wife, look who is back." His mother broke through the crowd of fawning relatives, tears of joy in her eyes. She hugged her son, ignoring the hypocrites around them, asking only if he was eating well, if he was happy. For a moment, surrounded by fake smiles and real love, Wang Lin felt the heavy burden of the sect lift. But he touched the stone bead in his chest. He knew this piece was fragile. He was only safe because they thought he was powerful. He had to become truly powerful. Wang Lin felt warmth in his heart. For the past month, he had endured scorn and ridicule. Now, back home, he was surrounded by praise. "Second brother," cried the sixth uncle, "I have a sharp tongue but a soft heart." It was all for Wang Lin's own good. "Second sister-in-law," shouted another relative, "My daughter insists on marrying Taizhu. Let's settle this marriage now." Wang Lin's parents glowed with pride. Even the drunk relatives started shouting about reclaiming the stolen inheritance. His father just smiled, ignoring them. He didn't care about the past anymore. He just wanted Wang Lin to succeed. That night, his parents asked about life at the sect. Seeing the hope in their eyes, Wang Lin lied for the first time. "I am very popular," he told them. "I practice powerful techniques every day." They listened in awe. For their happiness, Wang Lin vowed in his heart, "It's only 10 years. I will endure." 2 days later, he left. He used the talisman to speed back to the sect, arriving at midnight. A storm was brewing. Thunder roared and rain poured down. In his room, Zhang Hu was snoring. Wang Lin tossed and turned, then pulled out the stone bead. He examined it under the oil lamp. "Wait." He rubbed his eyes. Last time there were 5 clouds carved on the bead. Now there were 6. Surprised, he put it back in the inner pocket his mother had sewn for him and went asleep. Sometime later, a burst of cold air woke him. He opened his eyes. The room was filled with thick mist. The floor, the table, even the beds were soaked. But strangely, Wang Lin was completely dry except for the spot near his chest pocket. He looked over. Zhang Hu was covered in white frost, his teeth clenched, shivering violently in his sleep. Zhang Hu, Wang Lin shook him. No response, his breathing was weak. Wang Lin panicked. He was about to run for help when he realized something. Why was he dry? He pulled out the stone bead. Instantly, the water droplets in the room trembled. They began to float. The mist on Zhang Hu turned into liquid crystals. Flash lightning lit up the room. The water shot toward the bead in Wang Lin's hand. Terrified, Wang Lin threw the bead into the corner and dropped to the floor. Whoosh! Every drop of water in the room, from the floor, the beds, the air, rushed into the bead and vanished. In seconds, the room was bone dry. Zhang Hu's breathing returned to normal. Wang Lin stood up slowly and picked up the bead. 7 clouds. The count had increased again. He realized the bead absorbed water essence. It had nearly frozen Zhang Hu to death, but Wang Lin, who had been drinking bead water for weeks, was immune. Fear mixed with curiosity. What did the clouds do? He wanted to test it outside in the rain, but he dared not risk being seen. He hid the bead away. Dawn broke. As Wang Lin prepared for his chores, Zhang Hu suddenly jumped out of bed, screaming. Water, water, the thirst is killing me. Zhang Hu ran to the table in a daze, trying to pour water, but the container was bone dry. He rubbed his eyes, staring at the withered room. Wang Lin, did a ghost do this? He asked. Wang Lin shrugged. I don't know, it was like this when I got back. Maybe ask the other disciples, but if the elders get involved, you might get in trouble. Zhang Hu paled. Forget it, I won't ask. Wang Lin left the room. It was still raining. To be safe, he took a deserted path and buried the stone bead in a secret spot in the mountains. He couldn't risk the bead absorbing the rain in front of everyone. When he arrived at the chore house, the weasel rushed out. But instead of mocking him, he grabbed Wang Lin's bucket with a huge smile. Brother Wang, how was your trip? Are your parents well? I missed you. Wang Lin was stunned. This was the same fake smile his relatives wore. My parents are fine, Wang Lin said carefully. The weasel puffed out his chest. Brother, from now on you don't need to fill 10 vats. I was just joking. 1 vat a day is enough. If anyone gives you trouble, tell me. Wang Lin narrowed his eyes. Big brother, is there something you need? The weasel leaned in, pretending to be hurt. How can you be so cold? Your problems are my problems. Oh, by the way, elder son came looking for you personally. You should go see him. Wang Lin almost laughed. So that was it. The elder had come looking for him, and the weasel was terrified that Wang Lin had powerful connections. Wang Lin decided to play along. He snorted arrogantly, just like the weasel used to do. The weasel's face went pale. He gritted his teeth and pulled out a yellow paper. Little brother, this is a small gift. Please accept it. It was another immortal talisman. Wang Lin grabbed it instantly. Thank you, senior brother, but the elder is waiting. He walked away, leaving a terrified weasel behind. But inside, Wang Lin was worried. Why was elder son looking for him? Did he know about the bead? He arrived at the elder's courtyard. The youth in white appeared, looking confused. Back again? You want to visit home already? Suddenly, elder son's voice thundered from inside. Bring him here now. Wang Lin entered the garden. Elder son stood there, his wrinkled face set in a hard line, his bright eyes scanning Wang Lin like a hawk. Under elder son's gaze, Wang Lin felt like he was made of glass. When did you come back? The elder asked. Late last night. This morning, Brother Liu told me you were looking for me. Elder son's face was dark. He grabbed Wang Lin, and in a flash of rainbow light, they vanished. The speed was suffocating. Moments later, they were in Wang Lin's room. Elder son tossed him aside and scanned the room with his mind. What is this? He moved to the bed and picked up the gourd Wang Lin used for his bead water. Wang Lin's heart skipped a beat, but his face remained calm. That is just spring water, Elder. It's amazing stuff. It refreshes me when I'm tired. If you want some, there are 10 huge vats of it in the supply house. I filled them myself. Elder Son opened the gourd and sniffed. His expression changed instantly. Who asked you about the water? He snapped. Where did you get this gourd? Wang Lin played the fool. I found it floating in the river while fetching water. I fished it out. Elder Son narrowed his eyes. He could sense the massive spiritual energy in the gourd itself. It was perfect for making pills. He suspected the gourd had caused his herbs to wither. Perhaps they were natural enemies. Wang Lin, you are bold, the elder said coldly. You dare lie to me. This gourd was clearly just broken off its vine. Tell me the truth or get out of the sect. Wang Lin exploded with fake anger. So what if I'm kicked out? All I do is fetch water. I don't eat for days. This isn't cultivation, it's torture. I fished that gourd out of the river. Maybe someone else broke it off the vine and tossed it in. Why accuse me? Elder Son paused. He looked at the starving boy and the sweet potatoes. He believed the boy had found a source of these gourds. If he could get more, his pill-making would improve drastically. But he couldn't just steal from a disciple. It would ruin his reputation. He forced a kind smile. You have had it rough, kid. I will fix the food issue. Listen, I want this gourd, but I will treat you fairly. Do you want to be my helper? Wang Lin pouted. No, helper is just a servant. My dad would beat me to death if I became a servant. Elder Son almost choked on his rage. He wanted to beat the boy to death himself. Being a helper was a huge honor. Fine, he yelled. I will accept you as my disciple. Pack your things and come to my garden. The elder flew off to tell the patriarch. Left alone, Wang Lin's expression turned dark. He knew the old man had ulterior motives. He just wanted the gourds. Wang Lin chuckled. He wanted gourds? Fine. There were plenty in the mountains. He just had to soak them with the stone bead. But now, he had a chance to become a true disciple. He packed his bags, leaving a pile of sweet potatoes for Zhang Hu, and headed to the elder's garden. The youth in white watched him enter from a tree, sneering. A trash master accepted a trash disciple. Very fitting. After a while, Elder Son returned, his face dark with anger. The other elders had ridiculed him for taking a trash disciple. Just wait, he thought bitterly. When I get those gourds and make my immortal pills, we'll see who laughs. He stormed into the garden. Wang Lin, from today on you are my disciple. Do not disgrace my name. He tossed a small pouch to Wang Lin. This is a bag of holding. It contains your uniform and cultivation manual. Your room is in the back. Do not leave without permission. To make his point, he flicked a pebble at the garden gate. Flash, purple light exploded, and the solid wood disintegrated into fine powder. Wang Lin's pupils contracted in fear. He clutched the bag and hurried into his small room. Inside, he dumped the contents of the bag onto his bed. A red uniform and a small booklet fell out. Wang Lin's heart raced. He picked up the book. The title read, 3 Stages of Qi Condensation. He read until midnight by the light of the oil lamp. This was it, the foundation of becoming an immortal. The book explained that there were 15 stages of Qi condensation, but this manual only covered the first 3. It described a breathing method, 1 long breath, 3 short breaths. This rhythm would help absorb spiritual energy from heaven and earth. The book warned, the first time you practice, you will feel ants crawling inside your body. That is the spiritual energy entering. Do not panic. Relax and become one with the world. Wang Lin sat cross-legged, closed his eyes, and began to breathe. 1 long, 3 short. 1 long, 3 short. Hours passed. Nothing happened. Instead of ants crawling, he just felt dizzy and out of breath. He sighed. This book was written for talented geniuses. He was average. How could he compete? But he didn't stop. He cultivated through the night until dawn, exhausted and empty-handed. He stepped outside into the garden, breathing in the scent of medicine. He missed his spring water. 1 sip would cure this fatigue instantly, but he couldn't risk revealing his secret. He found a rock in the herb garden and sat down to try again. Suddenly he felt it, a tingling sensation like ants crawling under his skin. Wang Lin. Elder Son's voice shattered his concentration. What are you doing? Get out of there. Never cultivate in the herb garden. Wang Lin opened his eyes to see Sun Dazhu glaring at him. I grew these herbs here because this spot has the most spiritual energy. The elder snapped. If you suck it all away and kill my plants, your life wouldn't be enough to pay for them. Wang Lin lowered his head. Disciple didn't know. I won't do it again. Sun Daju's expression softened slightly. However, if you can find me another gourd, I will give you a low-grade spirit stone. It will make your cultivation much easier. Wang Lin hid a sneer. Disciple can check the spring again if I am lucky. Sun Daju's eyes lit up. Go, if you bring a gourd, the stone is yours. He waved his hand, muttering a spell, and the gate swung open. Wang Lin walked out, respectful on the surface but laughing on the inside. He would get the gourd all right, and he would take that spirit stone. Wang Lin left the garden, his red inner disciple uniform attracting stares like a magnet. The honorary disciples who once mocked him were now filled with envy and spite. So the suicide kid is an inner disciple now, one whispered. What dirty tricks did he use this time? Shameless, another spat. Look at that stupid face. Trash is trash no matter what color he wears. Damn it, I've been here 12 years. Why him? Wang Lin heard every word. He scanned them with cold eyes, engraving their faces into his memory. Revenge would come later. He arrived at the spring and washed his face. Instead of searching, he sat down and began to cultivate. High up in a nearby tree, elder son cursed silently. Little bastard, he said he was going to find a gourd. I can't believe he's actually waiting here for one to float by. The elder had tailed Wang Lin, hoping to find the secret source. But Wang Lin just sat there, breathing, absorbing the thin spiritual energy. Hours passed. At noon, Wang Lin stretched and walked back to the sect. Elder son exploded with rage. He had wasted his entire morning watching a kid breathe. Bastard, he muttered, I will play your game. 1 month. 1 year, I refuse to believe you don't have another gourd. He beat Wang Lin back to the garden. Disciple, did you find a gourd? He asked sweetly. Wang Lin sighed. No, teacher, I waited all morning. I'll try again this afternoon. Very good, go eat first. Wang Lin entered his room. A feast of meat, vegetables, and soup waited on the table. He devoured it all and took a nap. Outside, elder son smirked darkly. I won't poison you, kid, but I put drugs in your food that blocks spiritual energy. With your average talent and my drugs, you will never get past the 3rd layer. You will be under my control forever. An hour later, Wang Lin returned to the spring. He cultivated until dusk, then suddenly stood up and walked into the jungle. Elder son followed like a ghost. Wang Lin twisted and turned through the trees until he found a vine full of gourds. His face lit up. He picked a small one and hurried back. Elder son was confused. That looked like a normal gourd, but just to be sure, he picked a few himself and vanished. Back at the garden, Wang Lin handed his prize to the elder. Teacher, my luck was good. I found this in the mountain. It looks just like the other one. Sun Daju nearly choked. He had tested the gourds he picked. They were useless trash. He took Wang Lin's gourd and tossed it aside without looking. The gourd I want is filled with spiritual energy, he roared, losing his temper. Why would I want a random vegetable? He had wasted a whole day following a kid, only to be tricked into picking vegetables. The great elder son had been played. Elder son was furious. He had been laughed at by his peers for hollowing out normal gourds like an idiot. I don't know what spiritual energy is, Wang Lin said innocently. You said bring a gourd, I brought a gourd. Sun Daju felt dizzy. It made sense. Wang Lin was a mortal. He couldn't sense energy yet. The elder suddenly regretted drugging Wang Lin's food. The boy's talent was already trash. With the drug, he wouldn't reach the first layer of chi condensation for 50 years. That meant 50 years before he could sense energy, and 50 years before he could find more magical gourds. Sun Daju sighed heavily. He tossed a spirit stone to Wang Lin. Take this, cultivate quickly. Wang Lin took the stone and left. Sun Daju watched him go, muttering. There is one other way to know if he is lying, soul search. But he shook his head. Soul search was dangerous. If used on a mortal before reaching the core formation stage, the backlash would hurt the user just as much. It wasn't worth the risk. That night, Wang Lin cultivated with the spirit stone. His mind felt clear, but his body remained empty. No ants crawling, no energy. Suddenly, the door burst open. Elder son marched in, holding a bowl of black liquid. Drink this. Wang Lin hesitated. What is it? Do you think I would harm you? Sun Dazhu shouted. I spent all night making this medicine to help you reach the first layer. Drink. Wang Lin gulped it down. Fire exploded in his stomach. He felt like he was burning alive. His vision went black. Cultivate, I will help you absorb it. Sun Dazhu placed a hand on Wang Lin's chest, pouring cool energy into him to guide the medicine. He even placed precious spirit stones around the boy. Boy, he thought, I am investing a fortune in you. You better repay me. A joyous expression appeared on the elder's face. He could feel the spiritual energy condensing in Wang Lin's body. It was working. But then, a foul energy rose up from within Wang Lin and destroyed everything. Sun Dazhu's face fell. It was the drug he had put in the food yesterday. It was countering the medicine he was giving him today. He had sabotaged himself. He left the room in silence, his heart bitter. A month passed. Every day, Wang Lin went to the spring to cultivate. Every day, Sun Dazhu followed him, spying from the trees. And every day, he gave Wang Lin medicine to help him break through. But every attempt failed. The foul drug was too strong. Worse, the magical gourd Elder Sun had confiscated was losing its power. The spiritual energy inside faded away until it was just a normal gourd filled with normal water. Sun Dazhu finally accepted the truth. The boy had just been lucky. He found one magical gourd by accident. There were no more. His heart ached. He had wasted a month. He had wasted precious herbs and spirit stones, all for nothing. One day, he couldn't take it anymore. He called Wang Lin over, screamed at him for being useless, and threw him out of the yard. Get out of my sight. Sun Dazhu washed his hands of the boy. Without the medicine, it would take Wang Lin 10 years to reach the first layer. The elder forgot about him, dismissing him as a failed investment. But Wang Lin, now free from the spying eyes of his master, smiled. Wang Lin was happy. Being kicked out of Elder Sun's garden was a blessing. He was now free. He knew the basics of cultivation: qi condensation, foundation establishment, core formation, nascent soul, and spirit forming. In the entire Heng Yue sect, only 2 old monsters had reached the core formation stage. Even Sun Dazhu was only at the 5th layer of qi condensation. It was a long, hard road. But Wang Lin had the bead. He waited 10 days, making sure Elder Sun had truly given up spying on him. Then, under the cover of night, he snuck into the mountains and retrieved his treasure. Back in his new, secluded room, he examined the bead. 9 clouds. The humidity in the mountains had increased the count from 7 to 9. Only a tiny, fingernail-sized space remained on the surface. Wang Lin's heart raced. What would happen when the 10th cloud appeared? Would it be the final stage? He looked at the gourds he had hidden. The dew inside had turned into a thick, sticky jelly. It was concentrated energy. He stored everything in his bag of holding and headed out. Today was the day to collect his monthly spirit stone fragment and qi-gathering pill. He sprinted to the main courtyard. As he neared the pill house, he heard a familiar voice. Sister Zhou, I missed you so much. I reached the first layer of qi condensation just to see you. Look, I fought a giant snake to get this flower for you. Wang Lin frowned. It was Wang Zhuo. A crisp female voice laughed. Brother Wang, that is a common weed. There are no snakes guarding weeds. Wang Lin walked into the courtyard. There stood Wang Zhuo, handsome and well-groomed, trying to flirt with a girl. When he saw Wang Lin in his red inner disciple uniform, his jaw dropped. Wang Lin, he gasped. Why are you here? You should be doing carpentry with your father. The girl next to him giggled. Ah, so you are Wang Lin, the suicide kid. She was pretty, with a ponytail and big black eyes. Wang Lin recognized her. She was the only other person besides Wang Zhuo who had passed the entrance test months ago. The other girl, Sister Zhou, looked at Wang Lin with curious, crystal-clear eyes. Wang Lin's expression was cold. He ignored their shock and walked past them, his mind focused only on one thing, the 10th cloud.